This is Talk Star Wars, the official podcast of talkstarwars.co.uk. Hey everyone, welcome back to Talk Star Wars. I'm Mark.
I'm Stephen.
And it's a wasteland. It's just us. It's like the old days, Steve, just you and me.
I know.
It's like the show when it was in single digits.
Wow.
Isn't that weird? Yeah.
And we were lonely and sad, and no one liked us.
And no one listened.
We had 2 listeners, and that's one more than we got now.
Paul will hopefully be joining us very shortly, and Rob at some point this evening, I'm sure. But for the time being, you've just got the 2 old schoolers, the OG Star Wars podcasters, in the form of Stephen and myself. So we're going to get into a couple of the little light bits, and we're going to leave some of the heavier questions until we're joined by some of our co-hosts. Same, mate. What we want
sounds like a plan.
What we'll do first is we'll kick off with a big thank you this week to Ross Williamson, who became a TSW VIP. Thank you, Ross. He is hopefully going to be joining our VIP Facebook group very soon. I know he's not a big Facebook user, but he said he was going to put something together just to take advantage of that. But he's already listening to the daily podcast and whatever, and really enjoying himself. So thank you, Ross. You're a good man. It's good to have you on board. I've interacted with Ross on Twitter a couple of times. He really knows his stuff. You now? Yes, indeed, I have. I like to network. All right, we've got a review as well. Now, this came up last week. I don't know if you remember, but Paul said on the show, he said about the 5-star reviews, would we take a 5-star review for one of the other podcasts, or would it have to be just Talk Star Wars? No, it doesn't. I said we can take a podcast review for any of the other shows, the comic show, the toy box, the After Dark Side. And so this week, of course, we've been serviced with a After Dark Side shaped 5-star review in iTunes. So before we get to that, if you'd like to send us your 5-star reviews, you can do so through leaving them in iTunes, and we will level our Ron Burgundy policy at it, which means whatever you write in a 5-star review, we will read, as you're about to hear, verbatim, as long as it's clean, because obviously family show and what have you. So if you want to promote something like your podcast or a blog, then that's the place to do it. There's just one rule, and we ask you to keep it clean. And this is kind of cleanish. Do you not think, Steve?
It doesn't. The image it puts in my head isn't clean.
but that's probably more to do with you, clean. Steve. So this is
particularly the my bit after my.
Yeah.
Then it gets a bit weird.
This is entitled After Dark Side. It's a 5-star review, and it's from our friend in Australia, who is AJAJJAJAJ, and it just goes on. So he says, the most moist choice for tickling my bum fuzzle, my queemy touche, matouche. So there you go. Make of that what you will. I'm sure
that means a lot in Australia.
Yeah, there's a regional significance to that, I'm sure. But, we said 5-star review, you get it read, there it is. So
thanks. All the way from Australia as well, wow.
I think I know who that is.
That guy is upside down right now.
And at the end of tomorrow, or the beginning of tomorrow, I don't know, I find it all very confusing.
Well, isn't he always going to be upside down to us?
Possibly, or he's right side up, and we're the upside down ones.
Or we're upside down.
Yeah, it's all very, very confusing. I think I know
that's flat anyway. So
I was looking at some of the consumption numbers, and there seem to be some very quiet Australian listeners, because there are a few down there.
Really?
Yeah, so if you haven't made yourself known, please do so. Let's grow a little Australian contingent down under.
Yes, in case we get invaded, and then we have to go to the former colony.
Yeah.
Colony, not Connery.
That's not
the old Sean.
Cue the wonky impressions. Let's move into listener com. So you can send us your questions and comments via Twitter and Facebook. You can send us an email or a voicemail to talkstarwarsinfo@gmail.com. Just attach an MP3 and we'll use it as voicemail on the show if that's what you'd prefer. Our first one this week is from Freddie Rowling, son of Jeremy, youngest member of the TSW family.
And dare I say, the most knowledgeable person about Star Wars in the world.
Gives me a run for my money. He was on the Facebook Live pre-show tonight asking questions about who would win in a fight. Darth Maul and Yoda working together against, and then he had like an army of characters: Han Solo, 11 clones, Obi-Wan, somebody else. He was really he'd obviously given it an awful lot of thought. So his question this week is: do you think Boba Fett will be in the new Han Solo movie, even as a cameo from Freddie? So what do you reckon, Steve? Do you think we'll see Boba Fett?
I hadn't thought of it, but yeah, I think it's inevitable, isn't it?
It kind of makes a lot of sense.
Boba Fett and Han, they go hand in hand, with the exception
hand in Han.
of A New Hope, hand in Han in hand. I think it's inevitable. Did I not see Boba Fett or hear that Boba Fett, the actor, was on somewhere the other day being interviewed?
Oh,
it wasn't
really?
the one show, but it was something like that.
Jeremy Bullock.
Well, I only said it. What? Jeremy Bullock? Oh, yes, is that who plays him?
He's the actor who played him in Empire.
I think I'll ask Jen in a minute, because I'm sure it was her that told me that he was being... Oh, no, he's on Radio X. Yes,
right.
It was her. Heard him on Radio X. So isn't that a bit weird? That he's...
Well, he does the cons and stuff like that. He's a very active sort of presence at the conventions and on the signing circuit. So,
because Jen said that he said on the radio that his brother was one of the producers of Empire, and he was like a plasterer or something. I can't remember what he did, but
Jeremy was a plasterer,
or something that you wouldn't equate to film industry necessarily.
Oh, right. Okay.
Or he was working on the sets, and his brother convinced him to do it. He didn't want to do it, and he made him do it. And Robert's your father's brother.
Well, I'm looking at I'm looking at 3 autographed photos from Robert Watts, who is Jeremy Bullock's half brother. That's him. That's the man you're talking about, the producer.
And is he the producer?
He's one of the producers.
Something to do.
He was a 3rd unit director on A New Hope. And he's a really, really lovely guy as well. So he's given me a load of photographs and signed them all.
Wow.
Yeah. Maybe I'll need to get Jeremy Bullock as well and complete the set.
Wow.
Yeah, that's something
awesome.
There is something in the news later about a possible cameo in the Han Solo movie. Some interesting casting in the Han Solo movie. But yeah, in terms of Boba Fett, I think it's quite likely that we'll see that character at some point. Whether this movie or not, I don't know. But
because when you think about it, I mean, Han, when he, even in the Empire, and especially in Jedi, the way he speaks about Boba Fett, it's a long-standing relationship there, isn't there?
Yeah. They've got some miles, haven't they?
So that would be cool.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think it'd be quite interesting, and I think they're probably moving in the same circles around this sort of time. So yeah, I'd expect it personally, and it's also that thing in it that people will be clamouring after something like that from one of these big tier characters.
I'm not sure if they're gonna. Well, I guess it would have been nice for Boba Fett not to be necessarily a bounty hunter, but a smuggler or something. But we can't, because we've got canon already there, haven't we, in the prequels and that for
him.
But I would have liked to have seen him like a rival of Han Solo in the smuggling industry.
Yeah, that would be interesting, and it could still, just because he's a bounty hunter doesn't mean that's the only thing he's into. So he could still have ties to some smuggling, some organised crime. Like there's some other characters in the comic books, in the animated shows, Cad Bane, Hondo and Arca, that they're into all sorts of stuff, and they all cross paths with each other over time. So maybe he's got fingers in pies. You never know.
Good question, though.
Yeah, Freddie. Thanks, Freddie. I expect to see him personally, even if it is just a small cameo.
Even if we only see Ghost One or whatever it's called. What's the film? What's the ship called?
Slave One.
Slave One. Thank you.
Yeah,
that had a one in it.
Yeah, that would be really cool, wouldn't it? Just to see that parked up somewhere.
Oh, what's Ghost? That's the film from Rogue, isn't it? That had a cameo.
The Ghost is the ship from Star Wars Rebels, and it was in Rogue One. Yeah, we were all.
It's all in there.
It's just
mixed up and doesn't mean anything.
It's like Star Wars trivia soup, your mind, isn't it, mate? All right.
That's because I haven't got a filing system, and everything that you and Rob say just gets piled like a steaming pile of Star Wars spaghetti.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I pull out a strand, something will come out like Jabba's inside leg measurement or something.
Or it'll all come crumbling down around you and lead to some sort of episode. Let's not do that, do you? Right, thank you, Freddie, for that question. Okay, Paul's now with us. Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. Physical train wreck, but I'm all right.
No, it's good. No, it's good that you've jumped on with us tonight, mate. That's awesome. We've just gotten through the first part of listener comms and done thank yous and everything. We've got a new VIP, Paul, so we just said welcome to Ross.
Welcome.
Who's joined the VIP program. We've done one question from Freddie, the youngest Star Wars expert we know, and now
listener comms looked interesting.
Oh, listener comms, there's a lot in here tonight, mate. An awful lot.
The 5-star review. I beg your pardon.
Oh yeah, no, that was in response to your thing last week about should we have After Dark Side reviews, okay. And that's from Australia, so you can guess where that's come from.
Yeah, I've got no idea.
Right, we've had a comment on last week's show on the YouTube channel. We've got a regular listener there who likes to comment every week, very supportive. So, Steve, you wanted to take this?
Sure. This is from Vesuvi Timo, or Aunt Vesuvi, as she's known, with her very pink face. I hope that isn't sunburn. You need to put cream on that. Since you all briefly touched on the subject of midichlorians, perhaps they don't really create the Force, although that is an assumption many Jedi scientists inferred. Perhaps they're just attracted to force-wielding beings like moths to a flame. So the stronger a person's natural capability with the Force, the more these microscopic life forms would flourish in their cells. So could the midichlorians actually be attracted to the Force users' cells rather than create the Force ability? What do you think?
Well, I don't think they actually create a Force ability, which is what I've said. I think I said this. I've said this on several occasions. I just think they give you not the ability, but they certainly give you the sensitive. You know that's your sort of positive magnet against the Force's negative magnet, or the other way around. Mr. and Mrs. Smith don't have them because they don't have the midichlorian count. Those that do have the midichlorian count are much more Force sensitive, or forced, you might say, uber Force hyper compared to other people, depending on their count. That's all. I just think you're fortunate that you're born with them. I know there's a bloodline situation which we talked about as well in quite a lot of depth last week.
Yeah,
but I still think it's somewhat of a fortunate situation in your biological makeup, if you like.
Yeah, thinking about what Qui-Gon said in episode 1, he said they whisper to us, tell us the will of the Force, and if you can quiet your mind, you'll hear them. That's what he was talking to Anakin, wasn't he? So the midichlorian count is high, and they tell you the will of the Force. So is that the act of the Force working through you? And is that, does their presence in your cells allow the Force to work through you, and then you use it in turn?
So it almost gives you a second subconsciousness.
Yeah, and enable you to impose your will on someone or move an inanimate object from point A to point B, because they are present in the cells that surround and flow through all of these things. So that they're almost like, think of them like those little gnats, right? They're flying around, they're everywhere.
Who's the little kid in Charlie Brown? He's come around his head all day.
Yeah, Pigpen. It's like, the Force is basically Pigpen. I think that's the bottom line here. So your cells are full of these midichlorians, and there are midichlorians everywhere in the atmosphere around you, and it's through communication with those, your cells populated by the midichlorians talking to the midichlorians that are out there in the wild, enable you to move objects through that field of midichlorians, perhaps.
Oh, there's an education. So you're telling me that the average moving space in everyday life, in whatever part of the galaxy you're on, could also be populated with these microscopic little monkeys.
I wonder if it is.
Are attracted to the ones that you carry within your biological self.
I wonder if it is, yeah, because it's,
and that's what creates this yin yang between body and Force itself.
We hear Yoda sort of say that they surround us and penetrate us, and there's the penetrating part. I think is them being able to occupy your cells. That's what I think this is, and that's what Vesuvi's possibly pointing out, that they don't give you the ability to do it. You have the ability to do it. They just allow you to communicate. through almost like a network, I guess, a biological network of things interacting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of. What's your position, Steve?
Well, I like the idea of them being attracted to the Force, and therefore the Force being more a ethereal and spiritual type thing, and not a science project. So that I would love if they kind of retconned that back in.
Yeah.
Because that would be really cool, and it would make it less of a horrible thing to sort of comprehend.
Yeah, we are making the midichlorians a very acceptable situation with these theories, aren't we?
At the moment, it's like once you tar something, it's very hard to get it back, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, it's a strange thing, because I'm not sure what Qui-Gon's position is on the midichlorians, because obviously he measures the midichlorians in Anakin's blood, and it seems to be something it's an accepted practice by the Jedi, but we know that Qui-Gon thinks outside of the accepted way of looking at the Force, doesn't he? He's an outsider. He's rebellious. He thinks about the living Force. I'm not sure whether the way
he's a gentle maverick, isn't he?
He's very much a maverick. Yeah, and he talks about the living Force and how if you give yourself over to it, you'll accomplish more. But the Jedi seem to use midichlorians to quantify Force ability. So maybe if he had his own way, he wouldn't look at things in that way. You know, if he was left to his own devices, he wouldn't look at things. I can only judge your ability in the Force by looking at your midichlorian count. Maybe that's just because that's the way the Jedi look at it, that he needs to go back prepared saying, look, I've done your readings, here's your midichlorian count that you depend so much upon. But it's not really about that. They are incidental, which is what Vesuvi's indicating. The Jedi put a lot of stake in the fact that they're present. He doesn't, but he knows they will, so he uses it to convince them that Anakin's powerful. But he knows Anakin's powerful because he's in touch with the living Force. Do you see what I mean? So he's adopting the midichlorian standard because he needs to convince the Jedi of what he understands, what he accepts through intuition. He feels Anakin's presence in the Force. Knows
without sounding too unromantic, I wonder if his entire characterization was built around that idea, because the midichlorians were brought in very much with that part of the story. He kind of literally from a, I hate to say it out loud, from almost like a scripting methodology, he's the one that brought that in, wasn't he?
He was.
So adopting those methods and being accepting to those methods wasn't actually a complete balls up, if you like, from Lucasfilm at the time.
It was. It certainly was a misstep. I don't know what George's intention was, but I like the idea that it could be retconned now to be an in narrative version of what it is in real life. We all think that midichlorians are a misstep and they demystify everything. And if that was retconned into the narrative, so Qui-Gon's like, well, this the wrong way to look at the Force. You can't quantify it by any degree of measure. But the Jedi like to know everyone's midichlorian count, so I'll take the reading and I'll send it to them. But I don't need that to know that this kid's powerful. I know he flies pods. He can feel the compassion. He can feel the generosity within him. He knows that there's something special about this kid. He just knows it because Qui-Gon's in touch with the living Force. And it's interesting to me that, that character introduced the concept of midichlorians narratively through the story he was telling, or through his story responsibilities, and it would be interesting to retcon it out of the narrative now by saying that we throw that away with the way the old way the Jedi did things. Qui-Gon knew it was dead and knew it was pointless to meter these midichlorians because all they are is they are just attracted to the Force user like moths to a flame, and exactly
regardless of the physicality and whatever behind it, it still is what it is. There is still a zen. You can still have a very zen attitude about them.
Yes. Yeah. Even though they are, it's like an old-fashioned way or an unnecessary way of trying to measure somebody's ability. It's like saying John Williams is a good composer because he's got composer oriens in him, instead of just saying, this is a guy who studied.
You could just say he's got a ridiculous catalogue.
Yeah, he's predisposed to be a talented musician, and he's worked very hard at it, and you can tell he's a talented musician, but do you really need proof? Do you need a scroll? It's like the end of The Wizard of Oz, isn't it? Do you really need a scroll with something written on it saying that you're intelligent? If you're intelligent, when they give the scarecrow his degree, he had the ability all along. He didn't need that quantified in some archaic way. And this midichlorians might be an archaic way of quantifying.
That's where they took the romance out of it, because they quantified it straight away.
And the way to put the romance back in is to say that Qui-Gon knew that was an archaic way of judging somebody's ability within the Force. It was ridiculous to say that it had to have a discount or more to be a Jedi. What you need to be a Jedi is some latent ability and the opportunity to study and work and be coached and learn. And I think that would be a nice way to sort of back out of the midichlorian debate.
Otherwise, if somebody does come in front of you and you've got a pretty good idea, they look like they're going in the right direction, you still might be taking a punt too often.
Yeah.
So, in all honesty, a measurable system isn't the worst thing in the world.
Although it's very elitist, because the Jedi numbers were tiny. So if they were a little bit more open, they might have had greater numbers and they could have done more good.
True.
So it's difficult to know which way Lucasfilm and the story group are going to go with this.
The Jedi were rather arrogant people at that time, though, weren't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, they thought, because they were on the assumption that they were on the light side of everything, they actually assumed everything they did was always right. That might not necessarily always be the case. So
yeah. And the person that was the only person we've seen on screen saying that we might be getting this wrong is Qui-Gon, right? And that's why Dooku thought that he'd be able to go to Qui-Gon, or at least Qui-Gon's protege, Obi-Wan.
Was Mace Windu a little more open to the Jedi mistakes?
I don't know if he was. No, I don't think so. I think he's kind of guilty of a multitude of sins, really. He didn't want to know anything about Anakin, did he? Just didn't want to know. He tested the kid, he put him for a gamma test in Phantom Menace, and then right at the end, when it came to taking down Palpatine, he went in completely the wrong, or made a whole bunch of bad decisions.
Bit of a poop of it, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Qui-Gon was really the only person we've seen thinking in a way that seems to link into the way Luke's seeing things now. It's time for the Jedi to end. That could have been Qui-Gon saying that. It's time for to do things differently. I'll take this boy as an apprentice. No, you have an apprentice. But what does that matter? Why can't I have two? He was constantly thinking outside of the box. And
there's a thought.
Yes, go on.
Spanner in the spokes. Let's say you're someone like Darth Sidious. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And you got this kid in front of you that has a physical marker or identifier that shows that he is extremely ridiculously powerful in the Force.
Yes.
What can you do from a point of view of any kind of treatment that could totally and utterly destabilize and destroy his midichlorian count to take that problem away? Wonder why that was never investigated.
Well,
or maybe you could deplete him, but a part of the Force still chooses him and just fills him up again later.
You're assuming that Sidious wouldn't want Anakin around. I think the reason...
No, that's why I'm going to go with the hypothetic. It's just that this is a problem. How do we destroy it? Well, we just take his midichlorian count down. How? I don't know, ridiculously heavy blood transfusion or something along those lines.
Well, maybe that's what Luke's talking about in The Last Jedi. Maybe he's found a way from all his ancient readings to make the Force leave everyone at once.
That's a really interesting notion.
You know?
Do you think that's what? Do you think that's what the Awakening's about? Because we discussed this previously, didn't we? On the run up to the Force Awakens, it was, what is the Awakening? Has it been dormant for all those years?
Is it an awakening because maybe it's not as perfect as we think it is, and we're better off with a balance of nothing?
To me, I think it's a lot simpler with regard to like ending the Jedi. I think for Luke, it's about moving away from the way the Jedi did things when they were in their temple on Coruscant. I think he very much wants to move away from that and toward Qui-Gon. Because really, if you look at the lineage, it's Qui-Gon to Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan to Anakin, and Obi-Wan to Luke. It's kind of like a family lineage, isn't it, within the Jedi Order, within the Force users. And so I think that Luke is going to look back when he's seeing things with hindsight, he's looking back and thinking, the only guy that really understood this and understood where it should go was Qui-Gon. And if they'd have adopted his way of looking at things, they'd have seen the Sith a lot earlier. They'd have acted a lot earlier. Maybe they could have stopped the decades of pain and anguish by taking action sooner. But they ignored him until it was too late, until they couldn't avoid it anymore, which we've seen before, haven't we? We've made this comparison. We've seen it in Lord of the Rings. We saw it in Harry Potter. Everyone's in denial until you can't deny it anymore. The darkness is coming back, but
big time.
For me, I think Luke is talking about shutting down the way the Jedi used to do things. Like, he tried to build an academy, tried to train new Jedi.
He's not talking about the Force. He's talking about the Jedi.
Yeah, he's talking about the Jedi. But I think the Force, I think the idea of what Luke wants is to just be at one with the Force and not manipulate it and not allow it to work through him in any way. Just be still in the midst of it. And that is why I think the Force lay dormant for all those years until Rey popped up. She started using it and used it to escape Jakku. And that was the thing that sent ripples through, especially a young woman. They're so troublesome. Anyway, Vesuvi, that's a long way of saying, yeah, you might be right. And I think they might just be attracted to people who are powerful in the Force. And the Jedi latched onto a way of using them to quantify just how powerful a Jedi was, when there are other, perhaps more holistic and inclusive ways of doing that, which Qui-Gon knew. So a great point, Vesuvi. Thank you. And thanks for your continued support on YouTube. You're really active, and it's really pleasing. Thank you very much for continuing to leave comments. Okay, shall we move on to Ross? This is our new VIP, Ross. Great question here. Paul, do you want to take this one?
I'll give it a go. It's very Lord of the Rings size, but good on him. Fair play.
It is an epic time.
Oh, hang on. It's only addressed to one person.
Apparently we don't exist, Paul.
Apparently we don't exist.
It's just the most active person. Don't take it personally.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Paul. Hope you and the guys are good. Right. On the back of D23, I must admit that I was pretty chuffed with the Last Jedi sizzle reel, but left a little disappointed at the lack of any future standalone announcements, especially since Kathy mentioned a few months back that a decision was pretty much made on what will come next. To dampen my disappointment, oh goodness me, even further, I delved into Reddit, careful, and allowed my mind to be led astray by the many, admittedly, usually awful ideas, one pages and plot suggestions the next standalone may cover. Eventually, I came across a potential synopsis, for an Obi-Wan movie. Oh, Mark, this is definitely your territory. That, in my opinion, would work and add a movie type that we've yet to see in the Star Wars universe. It's written by someone called Frictator and is essentially Die Hard meets Star Wars, set in one building. Uncle Owen, Joel Edgerton, rides up to Obi-Wan, played by Ewan McGregor's hut. Owen tells Kenobi that some bandits are holding Tosche Station and the people inside hostage. Kenobi says that he isn't a Jedi anymore and it's not his responsibility. Owen tells him that Luke is one of the hostages. Obi-Wan and Owen head to Tosche Station, and Obi-Wan realizes that it's is that Cad Bane, his crew? Yeah, Obi-Wan can't see. Obi-Wan can't be seen, or Cad Bane might out his location to the Empire. The film is essentially Obi-Wan taking out the bandits one by one while trying to avoid being caught, and talking to Owen on communicators. Obviously, any Obi-Wan movie set pre A New Hope would need to maintain his discretion, and this type of story would allow that, but for a fair bit of action contained in one place, exactly. It also gives you opportunity to bring Bane and his squad to live action. What do you and team reckon? Would it work? Any builds? Thanks for everything, you guys and the rest of the Commonwealth. Thanks for everything you do. It's hugely appreciated. Cheers, Ross. That's I've got to be honest, that's quite a funky idea.
It's brilliant. It's a great pitch. I really like it.
Oh, I could see it in Jabba's palace or something like that. And there's loads of Muppets being held to ransom or something. Ever since the Joel Edgerton, he had a little, not a spat. What was he had a little push, didn't he, a while ago, saying, He'd do anything to get back in and get Uncle Owen a slightly more meaty part. Now, the way Joel Edgerton could carry Uncle Owen could be actually quite interesting on a film. I still get the feeling, though, anything that we get from an Obi-Wan point of view might be a bit more mystique, if you like, about it. It might be, mystical and what's the word I'm looking for? A bit earthy, maybe. But bearing in mind the guys, Ross is doing another rewind. This is quite a cool idea, actually. I quite like it.
It's a great idea. Should we look at this idea first and see how it works, and then perhaps kick out a couple of suggestions? Because I've definitely got a suggestion for this.
Cool.
Yeah, should we throw it around?
I think someone's joining us.
Oh, we might have a problem here. We might have some interference in the channel.
Oh, that's the dark side. No, three of them. Rob.
Hello.
Hello there.
I thought I heard interference. They're coming over the airwaves.
Welcome back, mate.
The most popular host in podcast history has arrived.
Can you see I'm sharing screen tonight, Rob?
I can.
So
yes.
you can see the show notes. We've just read. Just read this message from Ross.
Okay.
And this is a little synopsis that Ross pulled down from Reddit.
Is this a new show notes?
These are. I sent them out earlier, so you've probably read.
It's the same.
Not new show notes. No.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, this is so the italicized passage there is a pitch for an Obi-Wan movie that Ross picked up on Reddit.
Okay.
Which we're just going to start kicking that around. So if you want to just refresh yourself by reading that,
I'd be delighted.
We're going to just go over to Steve and find out. Steve, what do you think of this Die Hard meets Star Wars with Obi-Wan and Uncle Owen?
I don't like it.
You don't?
I think it's pants.
You really don't like it?
Oh, it's awful. And I'll tell you what, I'm done with. I don't want to see Tatooine again for a while.
Really?
I want Obi-Wan to go off on his own and do some stuff to do with the Force and to try and get to the bottom of it. He's obviously tucked himself away. He's feeling very confused. He's a bit of a hermit. He needs to get out there and get to the bottom of the Force. And he's trying to clear his mind and go to places that are like we haven't seen before in Star Wars and have adventures we haven't even thought of. I don't want it to be on Tatooine.
I think that would be difficult.
I don't want any German terrorists there either.
European terrorists. I think they were from all over in Die Hard, but
I do recall there being a mix. Yeah.
Paul, you
seem
to warm to this when you were reading it. What do you? Well, Steve's not a fan. What do you think?
No, but it just reminds me of Dread. I'm actually if they do it right, I'm actually quite a fan of that really, really high contained claustrophobic thriller. Mm-hmm. And you are wondering, well, hang on, there's only so many fire exits, there's only so many doors, there's only one lift, there's only one roof, and all of those are taken. What are you going to do next? So if they treated it with a real puzzle stroke thinking man's type situation, it could be fun. Mm-hmm. That's all. To be honest, in all honesty, agreeing with Steve from the point of Obi-Wan, I don't think it matters who would be in this situation, actually. I just like the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
this could have been the Han Solo film.
Okay, right, I got you. Okay.
I just like the situation. Raid, stroke, dread, etc.
Yeah, not bad. Cool. A couple of pretty cool movies. Dread is a masterpiece, I think, and
one of the greatest films ever made. And even that was a flop. There you go.
Be very interesting to see that in a Star Wars setting. Rob, what do you make of that?
I like the premise. I don't like the fact that it's Obi-Wan and Uncle Owen. It just feels
that's what Steve really was saying.
Sort of shoehorned in. I could see something cool like this happening on 1313.
Right. Yeah.
Like a Coruscant Knights kind of story with a pair of mercenaries for hire, and even something like a softening of like a Boba Fett style grizzly character. Not necessarily Boba Fett, but somebody with that kind of grizzle personality. Mm-hmm. It would suit that kind of, they go a bit soft and they end up sort of saving the day and stuff when they're normally the kind of person who stays out of it all. With the Obi-Wan and Uncle Owen stuff, it just feels like, I don't know, it just feels like box ticking in a way. Like, oh, it's Toshi Station. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's done that now.
Oh, okay. So, come on.
It smacks a little bit of fan service, doesn't it? But I think a lot of
Is Tosche
fanfic
Station
does.
in the deleted scenes of A New Hope? Yes.
Yeah,
When they're looking up at the fight.
I don't think it ever made it to fully being kind of fleshed out. It got filmed and then
it was characters called Windy, Fixer. I think Biggs was in there.
Uncle Clebe, Vought Klapchek.
I was going to pick up some power converters.
Yeah, there were a couple. There are a couple of little things in there that would have really slowed the flow of that movie
I liked
down.
the space fight you could see from the ground. That was cool.
Yes, with the macro binoculars. Yeah. I'd like this. I'm not so against this. I see the fan service. I see the box ticking that you're talking about. I do really like the idea of Owen going to Obi-Wan for his help. But the way I think that Ross asks if we had any builds on this, and if I was going to go this route with it, I would rather do sort of a Western where, the farms were coming under attack a lot by Tusken Raiders and things like that in the prequels, and Shmi gets taken and she's held and it sets Anakin off. If there was an echo of that, maybe, where Owen says that we've got to go out and we've got to get back one of the homesteaders' family or something like that, and asks Obi-Wan for his help, and Obi-Wan says no, and that's the start of the friction between the two of them. But if they do end up going out into the desert, and Owen keeps pushing him to sort of do some Jedi stuff so that we can get this put to bed.
Do Jedi things.
Use your Jedi sword. And Obi-Wan says, no, I've got to keep my presence here on the DL because I don't want to attract too much attention. So it kind of riffs on what we're seeing in the comic books at the moment with Maul. In the Maul miniseries, he's hunting Jedi, but he's doing it without using his lightsaber because he can't pull the lightsaber out in a public place and give away who he is. So I would like to see that reflected in Obi-Wan, not being able to fall back on the stuff that the Jedi would normally do and try and use his wits and his intelligence to solve the problem. And if Owen gets frustrated with the fact that Obi-Wan's holding back and it could have solved the problem, could have saved lives sooner, then that might explain why there's some friction later on with the crazy old man. He's just a wizard. And, if that is what broke their relationship down, I think that would be really interesting. And I love the aspect of Obi-Wan being able to do stuff on Tatooine without pulling that laser sword out, because when he does in the cantina, that he's being pushed to his limit then. Do you know what I mean? Trying to keep all the Jedi cards close to the vest so as not to give himself away.
In that situation, do you think that so let's say they do this film and they release it as you've described, do you think that would go down well with fandom? I don't.
No, but
I think they want Obi-Wan to do, to be Ewan McGregor doing flips and stuff.
Yeah, they would
lightsabers everywhere.
They would probably want that. And if I'm using the Darth Maul miniseries as a jumping off point, anytime Maul's in public, like he gets into a bar fight, believe it or not, when he's out looking for this Padawan that he wants to kill himself. He gets into a bar fight, so he goes to pull the lightsaber but can't because it's too public an area. But when he's in private, when he's actually on a moon and there's nobody around to see him do it, he pulls the lightsaber out and lets rip. So if you get Obi-Wan out into the desert and they're pushed, and maybe he has to go up against beasts, and he'll use the lightsaber like that. If they're not being watched, they could a skilled writer would be able to work that into the plot where he won't use it. Oh, he doesn't have a choice. And then when he does use it, that becomes a point of friction for Owen. Well, why do you use that then? And you didn't use it before. Perhaps if they're being followed by people and they see the lightsaber, that could introduce complications. That's a Jedi. Get the word back to whoever. So then Obi-Wan has to pursue those people and shut them down before they get into town. It could lead off in all sorts of directions. But I would love that to be like that Western feel, that Western epic that we could see. But all the while he's trying to keep it on the down low. And Steve, I still think we can do plenty of the Force stuff, because all this while Obi-Wan is meditating and trying to use the Force to contact Qui-Gon and trying to use the Force to go deeper and deeper into the living Force. uncrack this code, to get to become a blue ghost. So there's plenty of room for all of that in any film they make.
Yeah, I just wanted to leave Tatooine because it would be nice to see stuff you weren't expecting, and we're all, I think we're all expecting him to stay there and have that kind of Western feel, like you said.
Because he won't leave Luke. There's no way he'll leave Luke.
Well, no.
Unless you could introduce a character that could look after Luke whilst Obi-Wan was away. Like maybe an Ahsoka-like character that you could bring in just to keep an eye on things whilst Obi-Wan goes off-world to solve a problem. Then you really mix things up, don't you?
Yeah, that might work.
Then you could work an Ahsoka
maybe they
Tano
could
cameo
give
into
Luke
this movie.
a lollipop and just drug him and put him in the back of the land speeder.
A small Maz Kanata doll. So just play with that and we'll be back.
Yeah. Play with this doll, son.
If you have a problem, I'll solve it.
It's gone less Die Hard and more Obi-Wan 18, isn't it?
Kenobi.
I like this Reddit thing, but I think there's room to make it less fanficky and expand on it.
I like the kind of the overall premise. I would want to see it with some other characters rather than Obi-Wan and Uncle Owen.
I like the idea of Cad Bane as well, bringing that.
But Aunt Beru.
If you're going to do Cad Bane, it seems like it'd be better off sticking it in a Jango Fett, what's her name, Zam Wessel kind of double team.
Yeah. What about Aunt Beru?
The one time Jango Fett does something honourable.
She could be putting like bits of bok choy in the plastic cup and the blue milk, and then kick off.
What?
Rob, are you overlooking the fact that Django, he dead?
Well, no, because you're putting it in the timeline, not me.
This is... Oh, right, okay. Oh, I see. So you don't want it to be...
It could be like a young upstart Cad Bane.
Got you. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so... But then you're right in the sense that if it were to be Cad Bane as we kind of see him as most popular, it would have to be a young Boba and somebody else.
Yeah.
But, I was thinking more like a young Cad Bane. Maybe he's kind of an upstart trying to make a name for himself and he does something deplorable. Right. And it's up to Jango and Zam to do the honourable thing for once.
Yeah, I mean, they might...
This time they pay more.
This might be something that happens when the Obi-Wan movie's done and they're starting to pull in more fringe characters into these standalone movies. A bit like the Marvel projects, the way they've moved from the top tier down and we're starting to get the Captain Marvels and the Black Panthers of it all. So, yeah, maybe in the future that would be interesting, but...
Yeah.
This was a great exercise. I like some of the ideas for Obi-Wan's standalone films. That's great. Thanks, Ross. Thanks for your question. Thanks for becoming Ross's new VIP, Rob.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us, Ross. We'll see you in that Facebook group at some point. Okay, let's move on to Kyle. Rob, do you want to take this tweet from Kyle at Tumbling Saber?
Yeah, sure. So Kyle wrote regarding Tommy Bombadil 1's question. So that's James from Tumbling Saber. I don't know whether this come.
This was last week
as part of a Twitter thread, or was this a discussion on their show?
This was James sent us 2 tweets last week about whether a Force user would need to know another Force user in order to feel their presence in the Force. Because Vader didn't seem to be able to feel the twins on the Death Star, but he could feel Obi-Wan. And this is Kyle's thoughts off the back of that conversation on last week's episode.
Right. Okay. So Kyle asks, for all of Palpy's stealth, I'm not sure I like that nickname, Obi-Wan seems to sense Palpatine in the first scene of The Phantom Menace, right? I haven't had a chance to go back and watch this. Does he?
He senses something.
Okay.
Yeah, he...
But I mean, all the Jedi sense something.
Yeah, but he seems to be picking up on the Sith presence because he says there's something elsewhere, something elusive.
Yeah.
When he's talking to Qui-Gon.
Right, I see.
And then obviously we're only like one act of the movie away from Darth Maul breaking out the double-bladed lightsaber and revealing exactly who the Sith are and the fact that they're back.
Yeah, well, that could be all they're talking about in that context. Obviously, there is a grander thing that we're privy to, but they're not necessarily privy to it yet. That makes sense. The Jedi, I don't know. They haven't established by this point whether the Jedi are aware of the Sith kind of clouding their judgment.
No, they don't reveal that for like another movie, do they? Their ability to use the Force is diminished.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
What about you guys? Paul, do you remember this in...
Comment on that, I'm sorry.
You can't remember in Phantom Menace?
Mm-mm.
Steve?
No, it's been a while since I've watched it, to be honest.
Steve, do you remember that?
He's on mute.
Steve, you're on mute. Steve, you in the loo? Let's move on.
Steve, you in the naughty corner?
He's rescuing a cat or something.
No, it's the loo.
He didn't put anything in.
Has he got like a spider sense for... I must go, an ant needs me.
Phantom Menace questions. That's what sets him off. Oh no, he's under the sofa, sucking his thumb. All right, let's. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say he definitely senses something, and I think in context, it would have to be the big bad, right? Otherwise, they would say, "Well, you're feeling the suffering of those people on the planet, or you're feeling." I don't think Maul's big enough to be the thing that he's sensing.
Is Qui-Gon in this scene?
Yes.
Yeah.
What does he say?
Where's my daughter?
What does he
say? Wrong movie.
He's got a very specific set of skills. Yeah, he says something about.
You miss me, really?
trusting his sense. I can't remember.
Something to do with his trust your
instincts.
Go of your instincts or something, like relax your instincts or something. I don't know.
Trust your instincts.
I definitely get the feeling that Obi-Wan
doing a little dance with a pig under his arm.
I didn't see that version. That must be the Harmy's specialised version.
Yeah.
Pig dance.
That's the Ham solo movie.
That's very specialised.
Oh, well done, Paul. Kyle, I think you're onto something. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch Phantom Menace and just find out exactly what.
Like we said, we spoke about this in reasonable depth last week, though. You sense something, but you're not someone.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be something. It can just be something without being a tangible human being.
Mm-hmm. And what we'd said also last week, Rob, was that the twins hadn't awoken yet in the Force.
I heard it.
Oh, you did? Oh, well, there you go.
I listen when I'm not on.
Oh, well, there you go.
When I'm on, I know what happened, so I don't feel the need so much.
You're just screaming spoilers at yourself.
Good timing, Rob. Off you go.
Yeah, do you want to take Casey's question, Rob? Because we have no Connor's Corner this week.
Outrageous.
Connor is on holiday.
How dare he?
Casey talks thusly.
So Casey's another new listener. So take it away.
All right. So this is from Casey Bennett. So it reads, "Afternoon, gents. First off, just want to say I love the podcast. I went through quite a few Star Wars podcasts, not being able to find one I really enjoyed listening to until I found yours.
Yay.
Now on to the question. Yay. Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? Now on to the question. I have a theory on Rey's parents and how she ended up on Jakku. I know what you're thinking. Yet another theory. But I haven't personally heard anyone explain it quite this way before, and I do have some evidence to back it up. We'll never know the real answer until The Last Jedi comes out, but it would be fun to hear your thoughts on this. I think it's optimistic you might hear it from Last Jedi. Not necessarily true.
Maybe, yeah.
So here it is. This is his theory. Rey is Luke's daughter. She's at the Jedi Academy when Kylo and the Knights of Ren attack it while Luke is away. Kylo stops the Knights from attacking Rey like they have all the other students, and he is the one who leaves her on Jakku. Now for some evidence. First, why I think she's Luke's daughter. While having all of his students die and his nephew turn evil is enough reason for Luke to go into hiding, losing his own daughter would give even more reason for his choice. Maybe when Luke returns to the academy, he either knows she's been taken and has no way of tracking her down, or he thinks she was killed in the attack. Also, look at the final scene of TFA. When Rey finds Luke and he pulls back his hood, she looks to be on the verge of tears. This could just be because she's found this legendary figure, but it could also be the look of a girl who's just recognized the face of her long-lost father. Now, on to the attack on the academy. Some people have said it looks like Kylo is defending someone against the Knights during Rey's Force vision. What if this part of the Force vision is Rey's own repressed memory, either due to the trauma or from some Force manipulation from Kylo later of the attack? She was there, and Kylo stops the Knights from attacking her. We know Kylo had trouble embracing the dark side. What if he couldn't bear to let Rey, his own family, be killed? That would explain him standing against the Knights in the vision. To Kylo, who wants to embrace the dark side, not being able to kill Rey would be a failure. So as a compromise, and also as a way to hurt Luke, he takes her away and leaves her on Jakku. This would give context to when, in TFA, Kylo is being given on a report on what was found on Jakku, he focuses on the fact that they mention a girl. If he had left Rey on that planet, he couldn't help but wonder if an unknown girl on Jakku might be his cousin. Anyway, that's my theory. It makes lots of assumptions, like any fan theory, but what Star Wars fan doesn't love to sit around and come up with possible answers to these mysteries? Mm-hmm. I'd love to hear if you guys think I may be right on any of those points. Keep up the good work. All the best, Casey.
I've
got a question. I'll go Steve.
I was going to say, as much as it is very mainstream and not really, it doesn't fit with Mark Hamill's, oh my God, why are they doing this? I'm not happy with this kind of thing. It does make complete sense, all of that, especially the bit, because I thought it was weird in The Force Awakens when they mention a girl and he goes nuts and pulls him across the floor. What's a girl got to do with it? Mm-hmm. So that on its own made me think, even when I watched The Force Awakens, that they already are aware of a girl that's causing trouble or they need to find, even before... I
mean, that's possible. That doesn't necessarily have to be somebody he knows. It can be a girl in almost like a prophecy.
Yes.
So
it could be a prophecy, couldn't it?
Yeah,
something along those lines.
Could be something Snoke's warned him of. Could be a vision that he's had. Yeah, definitely. Paul, you wanted to ask a question?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, several times it's referenced the fact that it was Kylo that took her to Jakku. Mm-hmm. Now, the only references we got to Jakku is a very, very, very young girl being what it looks like left behind anywhere. So it would have been a very young Kylo as well.
Yeah, yeah. This is what breaks it. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, very early on, we postulated this exact thing.
We did. I remember this. I was about to say, this does sound,
pre-Bloodline.
Yeah, well, Casey's saying, I've not heard it explained quite this way. But then he's a new listener, so these things can both be true.
Yeah, it is. And I think this is why, Casey, you found the right podcast, because clearly you're on the same wavelength as us, because this is exactly what we'd gone through. You've made exactly the same points. And I think all of them, they work perfectly until Bloodline dropped. And then Bloodline took the timeline and broke this theory, unfortunately. Because 6 years before The Force Awakens, Ben was still training with Luke and everything was fine. And Rey had been on Jakku for a number of years at that point because of her age. And I think Pablo has even commented on that publicly, that she was on Jakku before the events of Bloodline. So unfortunately, it does break down. But apart from that one little thing, this is just such a beautiful theory that just works so well. And it ties all of those disparate elements in The Force Awakens, all those dangling threads, it ties them all together beautifully.
The whole vision sequence, he does look, that weird confrontation between her looking into the vision and him almost looking out of it at her. Is very strange. Almost an element of hang on a minute.
But he's not standing. The only thing is, he's not standing against the Knights of Ren. He's standing with them behind him.
No, they're just behind him. But it's very strange. It almost is like
the character he takes down with the lightsaber.
It's a gathering moment rather than any kind of attack, isn't it? So.
Yeah.
He at that point it's after it. That's post attack, I think, because there's bodies strewn everywhere in that muddy field in the rain. But he strikes down somebody that's referred to as warrior. And it looks like he's wearing a funky hat, and most of the Knights of Ren wear funky hats. So that played into my theory at the start that he was a knight or a member of Kylo's group was going to strike Rey down, and Kylo stopped him with that lightsaber. That was the thing. That was my thinking, and right up until Bloodline, it all seemed to fit beautifully.
Yeah. I ever thought. Sorry, go on, Paul.
I was going to say, you're saying this breaks because of Bloodline. Mm-hmm. But I also noted, the young girl we see with, I always say Simon Pegg's hand on her saying goodbye to the ship and blah, blah, blah. I mean, how does that tie in? Because like I say, I think timeline-wise, if that is the point where she gets left on Jakku, then again, Kylo would have been a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, really she's too...
Yeah. Or you're talking about the same thing there?
Yes, that's the same thing, Paul. Yeah,
that
reveal, the reveal of the moment Kylo leaves Luke in Bloodline breaks the theory that Kylo had destroyed the school and whisked Rey away to Jakku. That falls apart just on the numbers side of things. unless Rey's remembering her, so they could retcon it and have that memory of Rey not be entirely reliable. If she was much older when she was deposited,
I feel like that would be a cop out.
It's taking it too far.
Only because it would people would explain it away as, you know, always in motion the future is, but that's not how the past works.
No, but it is. If you know, with certain, Casey points out perfectly in the question that Rey could have used some mind whammy to sort of alter the way Rey remembers things. So she can't remember Luke. She can't remember the school. She can't remember her Force training. Perhaps he's altered her memory so she thinks she's been on Jakku longer than she actually has. So if she was deposited on Jakku as a 12-year-old, but he's saying, oh no, waving his fingers in front of her face, and oh, you were 7, and using the mind whammy, she might.
That just seems a little.
That's
yeah,
too
I mean,
far.
I'd be. I don't know if I'd be on board with that. It's a bit hokey.
Yeah, it's
just like a.
It's too
We've
much.
Decided we backed ourselves into a corner, and now we're backing ourselves out again.
Oh, we've broken
writing.
There is one of the other things that I picked up on as well, and some other people had picked up on it, was in Rey's vision when she's looking at the shuttle take off with her parents on, presumably her parents, and she's screaming, "Come back!"
Yeah,
the light changes and it shrinks down to the shape of Kylo's visor.
Yeah.
So there's all these little visual clues that seem to point to this being the thing. And until Bloodline, it doesn't really work. But Paul, you're right. If we take Bloodline away for a minute, Kylo would have been very young at that point. It would have been like a late teens. It would have been
she looks about 5 in that scene.
Not very old.
Yeah. And there's not much between them.
Maybe 10 years.
I mean, how long?
Would have been 15.
No, I'm not even buying that.
Has anybody gone ahead and worked out how many days have passed from the scratches on the wall?
In the novelisation, it says thousands. There's thousands of marks on the wall.
Okay, that's at least. So that's a minimum of 3 years. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's more than that. But what I mean is, in order for it to be thousands, it has to have passed 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll ignore
it depends
that
on
a year might be a different length.
I was about to say it depends on the timeline of.
Ignore
how
that.
Long
And go with Earth. It could be, it could be a decade.
Yeah, exactly. I think more likely it is. But
Little Rey could have been 7. Big Rey could be 17. I think it's a couple of years further each way. I think Paul's probably right. She's more like 5 or 6 in that image, in that vision, and our Rey is like 19. I think.
I feel like the drop off on Jakku happened about halfway between Jedi and Force Awakens, as an approximation.
Right. So about 15.
I don't know. Yeah, I reckon it roughly halfway between the two.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, it looks about right. From she strikes me as being in her sort of late teens, early 20s. Because you don't. I mean, even if you've been surviving by yourself, I don't know you get that proficient and that strong as a teenager. You'd have to be some extraordinary genetics. Okay, who you are?
And she's clearly being cared for in some way. There's a lot. Unkar Plutt has a lot of affection for her, and there's something of an attraction to her.
Yeah.
Now I don't know whether that's the creepy kind or whether she's unconsciously sort of forcing him to be lenient with her, to look after her, to be more forgiving, or if it's just a paternal thing, or maybe he's getting some pressure from the Church of the Force because Lor San Tekka's there for some reason. Yeah, sure. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's there as this young Force-sensitive female is developing.
This just popped in my head. What if the attack on this is one of those weird kind of pops into my head randomly, and it's pretty trivial, but what if the extermination of the Church of the Force is the reason that he goes from giving her generous portions to giving her measly portions? Yeah,
because there's no one there to sort of force his hand anymore.
Nobody there to check him, so he's got wind that that's happened, and he goes, I can just go back to I can treat her like everybody else. There's nobody who's going to stop me.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And he's also he's connected to the First Order as well, isn't he? Because he knows about the BB unit and knows its value. So
Yeah, exactly. So he may be sort of, he may be like wanting to be a bit of a dastardly fellow, but he's being sort of lent on by the Church of the Force.
Yeah, somewhere in expanded storytelling, Gloria is rocking up with Lor Santeca at Unkar Plutt's place and threatening him with a gigantic rifle.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
And just one of those things that just popped into my head, I know Gloria would have a rifle, I think.
So
it just seems like she can handle it.
Casey, unfortunately, as beautiful as this theory is, it breaks when you hit Bloodline, unfortunately.
Yeah. The other thing as well is, like, I know he did address it in the discussion when he said about the look that Rey gives Luke. I think if I had gone from, in the space of, I don't know, a week, barely surviving on a desert planet to meeting a complete, a mythical figure, I would look like that too.
Yeah, and I think, she's at the verge, she's at the threshold of a new life, isn't she? Remember, Daisy's spoken about this now, about The Last Jedi, how you shouldn't meet your idols. Sometimes they disappoint. So clearly when Rey turns up on Arc 2, she's expecting to meet this myth, this icon. Yeah. She's expecting her life to change in a huge way. And not only has the girl managed to take one step away from her ties to Jakku, but she's gone all the way. And she's gone on to meet someone that can shape her into something spectacular and put her on
a job offer.
Yeah.
Within days.
Yeah. She, no wonder she looks like that. She's moved beyond belief because she's standing right there with this royalty almost. Well,
this mythical figure. And you have to wonder, has news of not just his Jedi prowess but also his kind of history got as far as Rey? Because she might have seen him as an aspirational figure if he was real, because he escaped from his humdrum desert planet existence. Yeah,
I'm sure that is. This is all going to be covered, I think, in some books that are coming out later in the year. These short stories that they're not necessarily canon. The story group are finding a way to knock out stories now that they are myths. They're myths about Luke. So we're going to see all this stuff explored in an upcoming book. So people will tell the story about how he grew up on a moisture farm and how he got swept up with a smuggler and a wizard and he fought the evil and destroyed it. But there will be some others there that build up the legend. I think still the legend's being rewritten because of the events of Bloodline. Just 6 years earlier, all of these myths about Luke would have been tainted with the fact that, oh no, the bad guy was his dad.
Yeah.
So all of that would start to change and swirl. It's this huge melting pot where Luke was one thing until 6 years before, and then he's starting to be seen as something else completely. Maybe that informed his decision to disappear to Arc 2.
Yeah, maybe.
Guys, before we go to our break, Steve, Paul, did you want to make any more comments about Casey's theory?
No. The only thing that obviously popped straight in, literally halfway through reading that, was what I remembered, obviously seeing from TFA. So which has been more than addressed. Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm cool now.
You kind of weed on our bonfire a little bit.
Yeah, but you like it, don't you?
Not sorry.
The whole thing.
Steve loves it when you wee on his bonfire. Actually.
Yeah.
The whole thing Casey's put together here is not only because it echoed exactly what we'd said earlier on, clearly independent of our train of thought, but it works, doesn't it? Without you not knowing that bloodline thing, this all makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I just want to address one thing as well, actually. The whole Kylo gets surprised by the girl thing. I have an alternate take on this, which is he's just been told, we've seen this in the film, he's just been told that not only has Finn escaped, but he's done so on, I think at this point they've established it's on the Millennium Falcon, or is it later that that's established?
No, it's later.
I know Snoke says it, yeah. Aboard a stolen freighter or something like that. They don't say it's the Millennium Falcon.
That's right.
They established that he's escaped, and so he's kind of looking at it as like, how can this get any worse? And then the guy says they were with the assistance of a girl, and he's like, I don't know about any girl, and he just, he flips because he's like, his reaction is like, not, what more can there be?
Yeah,
and then he tells him, "Oh, there is more."
Yeah,
like,
we're bringing the inference,
problem.
aren't we? We're reading something more into that than I think is really there necessarily.
Maybe, but it's just like I say. I think it's. I do get where it comes from, but I do feel like it's a little bit of a. We're reaching a bit at this point. I think, we're kind of because of the absence of anything else. We're inferring a lot of things to fill the gaps.
Yeah, and it's such a shame because all of these things they just work so beautifully. Everything else works so well. But there you go. That's Star Wars speculation for you.
Well, there you go.
1 minute it's there, next minute Claudia Gray ruins it for everybody.
I gave you facts. I did.
No, it's true. I do that every week. What do you want?
Another fact?
No, you just speculated for a quarter of an hour. I gave you hard facts.
Okay.
Right.
I guess history will tell us what the real answer was.
Yes.
When the episode comes out, people can make their own minds up.
Yes.
I can't remember, to be honest.
No.
after I've taken the scissors to it. All right, we're going to go to a break. Unfortunately, we won't be coming back to Connor's Corner, but we will be coming back to some other Star Wars talk.
So we don't need Rob anymore.
Hooray! Wait, what?
All right, we're going to... Steve, you're going to be around when we come back from our break. I know you were talking about ducking out early this evening.
Yeah, I'll be around for a little bit longer. I'm just struggling. That's why I'm a bit quiet.
Okay, mate.
Feeling a bit under the weather.
No problem. All right, well,
I shall bear with it for a while.
You know your pain, brother.
You bear down. Go and get yourself some medicine or something. Maybe if it's made by Jack Daniels, that'll do you the work.
Get someone to rub Vic on your chest. Vic likes that.
Oh, Vic.
Rob, get up here.
What's that, mate?
Oh, God. Let's go to this break. We'll be right back.
Bring the baby lotion.
If you'd like to support what we do here at Talk Star Wars, you can do so by becoming a TSW sponsor. For as little as £1 per month given securely via PayPal, you'll help us keep the lights on here at Talk Star Wars. When you become a TSW sponsor, we will automatically make you a TSW VIP. As a VIP, you'll get access to an exclusive stream of content that provides you with a daily podcast called the TSW Kessel Run, membership to the TSW VIP Facebook group, priority releases of shows such as the TSW Toy Box and TSW Comics. You'll also get priority access to the TSW Feature Com series and weekly Facebook Live and AMA sessions. There are also newsletters and a monthly prize draw. Head to talkstarwars.co.uk/support and become a TSW sponsor today, and the Force will be with you, always. And we're back. So that was our VIP spot. If you'd like to join Ross, our newest VIP, and many, many others, then just head to talkstarwars.co.uk/support and sign up there. And maybe you could be in with a chance of winning a prize. We do a prize draw every month for VIPs. And tonight, Jared Peppard won a copy of Inferno Squad.
Oh, nice.
The latest
I am
Star
well
Wars
gelled,
Luke.
so congratulations.
Yeah. Yes, that's going to be winging its way to him very, very soon. So congratulations,
Marvelous.
Jared. Yeah, every month we give something away, so be in it to win it. As little as £1 a month. We'd like it if you did more, like £3 a month, but there you go, whatever. Let's move on to some Star Wars news in the absence of Connor's Corner, because they're all on holiday. Have a nice one, guys.
Really?
The first thing up is Last Jedi. Now, this isn't necessarily spoilery. I will give you a spoiler warning. But this is about an art of book. Right. I don't know if you guys are into this sort of thing, but we're going to be getting a Art of the Last Jedi book coming soon. And it's coming out from Abrams Books, who I've never heard of. Have you guys heard of that before?
No, but I'm going to write them down.
And there's the writer is Phil Zostak. Is it Zostak? Is that how you pronounce it?
Let me have a go.
Zostak,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So this looks good. This is since we've had these new movies, we've had a number of books that have been cancelled, like making of books. Usually, J.W. Rinsler's making of books for Rogue One, which would have been a difficult one, and
well, somebody else came in and finished the writing off halfway through. So
yeah,
went back and rechaptered.
And The Force Awakens as well. That was also cancelled, and somebody asked if there was going to be something for Han Solo, which got a giggle. That probably isn't going to happen either because of the difficulties.
Yeah,
I
want Han Solo a director's view. That'd be cool.
Yeah, from Lord and Miller. Or maybe
director's view.
Maybe
Closed door.
90% of the pages will be blank, and then Ron Howard just come back at the end and write a few comments. This I'm looking forward to, and that image on the front cover, which is a tweet embedded in our show notes.
I like the style.
It's just gorgeous, isn't it? I love all this stuff. I
It reminds me of an artist I know called Christian Hook. I don't know him, but I really like his work.
Okay.
The sort of dull. It's dull but really exciting use of colour. That makes sense.
Yeah,
it is very, very dull but exciting at the same time. Especially her
not a lot of
face.
vibrant
Her face is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's Daisy Ridley in such simple little strokes. That's Daisy Ridley's look, isn't it?
Umo.
Ooh. I like Eric Tiemens and Ryan Church and the work they did on the prequels. I love their sort of paintings. I don't think they have anything to do with the sequel movies, but I know Doug Chang is in there. Doug Chang's I've got 3 of his pieces on my wall. He's incredible artist. Really simple sort of drawings and just in pencils and monochromatic sort of pen work.
Yeah.
I love looking at the Star Wars art, and sometimes it disappoints me that they seem to go one step too far in taming down some of these wild designs. So I'll be very interested to see what the denizens of places like Canto Bight will look like in the book compared to what actually make it onto the screen. Because some of the designs are so wild. If you just go back to the earlier Art of Star Wars books and look at the designs for Jabba the Hutt, they're so weird.
Yeah. They're cool though.
They're really, really cool. And then it kind of gets. I love what Jabba ended up looking like.
When you look at how Yoda started, he's practically a bloody leprechaun.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
just
awesome.
So odd. And something tells me this film is probably going to be quite close to the concept art, but I am looking forward to seeing what we could have won, because that stuff is often really, really entertaining. So I'm looking forward to this book.
Always a speedboat on Bullseye, wasn't it?
Always, or a caravan.
Yeah.
That 2 blokes,
caravan or speedboat,
two
or
blokes
both.
from down the pub used to have to share like a kitchen. How weird. All right, we've got a bunch of art coming out from The Last Jedi as well. Now, some of this could be considered spoilery, so please be warned if you want to listen on. We are going
What's
to be talking
spoilery about these?
Well, we're going to be talking in detail about some of it, and it might, for some people, if they're trying to isolate themselves from a few of these elements, it might be considered a spoiler. So I'm just going to give you some advance warning. It's not just these, Paul. I got some images that came out this evening that we're going to switch over to in just a moment.
Okay.
So, spoiler warning over. If you're still here, we are going to talk freely.
That threesome.
Yes. So this first image.
It's got. Is it Rose?
Yep.
Yeah, instead of Poe.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Yep. So we're getting Finn.
Poe dies.
Jedi Ray. I'm using the term Jedi Ray. And Rose Tycho. Steve, you still with us, or are you falling around?
I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm here. I didn't fall over.
Can you see Ray's got a nasty bump on her head?
She wants to see my eye.
I can't zoom in on it because I'm sharing your screen. Can you zoom in, Mark?
There.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, one of those stupid birds.
Just a bruise.
Yeah, she's been through the wars a little bit. She's been through the Star Wars.
Yeah. She looks good there.
Yeah, she does look good there. These are great. This is a great image, and clearly this is something for publicity. So these are our new heroes. I think Poe's very much sort of sharing Leia's adventure at this point, which is why these 3 are together. I think Finn and Rose spend an awful lot of time together in the movie on a secret mission. I saw a little shuttlecraft of theirs today.
If it's secret, how do you know?
I was going to say, thanks a lot, Mark. They were on it's supposed to be a secret mission, but no.
Well, they shouldn't have told me.
Anything for a damn scoop.
They know what I'm like. So I think these are going to be our main heroes. I was thinking like Luke, Han, and Leia. Maybe this is our new Holy Trinity.
Han, Luke, and Leia.
Can I say something controversial?
Why not?
Never stopped you before.
No. I'm normally fairly tight about these kind of things. I'm actually admiring it, but a bit of cultural diversity.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful, isn't it?
In the shot? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's accidental.
Absolutely not.
Part of me hopes that...
No, it does. No, but even if people think it's a positive thing, I don't care about that either. The fact is, if it's happening, go with it. That's all I care about. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we get to the point where it's no longer necessary to point it out. And I mean no disrespect to you, Paul. It's I think it's wonderful, and I don't want it to be a point. Do you know what I mean? I hope it's not a point we have to make. These are just great characters, and these are just wonderful actors portraying these great characters. And I hope we're not going to. We've got to a situation
though in this day and age. By not making the point, we're making the point.
Yeah, it is a weird one.
The best thing to do is to wait until the movie comes out and judge them on their performances.
Yes, yeah, but here's the other thing.
Which is what I'm planning on doing.
Here's what a lot of people don't know either.
The performances are only good as the characters they're given, though. So we'll see.
There is a bit of that, yeah.
One of these characters is also gay. One's transgender, and the other one's a robot.
And none of them are allowed in the military.
We're ticking all sorts of boxes.
And the lightsaber's in a wheelchair, so there's that.
Yeah.
One of them's half a cat from the waist down.
We know.
Wow.
So the transgender one must be Rey, because the other two wouldn't be allowed in the military, would they?
No, she's cross-playing as Qui-Gon.
Crossplay.
Yeah, I love
saw some of those at Celebration.
I just want us to start accepting that we've got great characters, great actors, and a great creative force driving this thing, and it's no longer we no longer need to trade on those things. I know too often it's a thing where people say there isn't enough of this. Well, we haven't got. Lucasfilm aren't making that point that now you've got all you need. It's just wonderful to see. What I do like to do is look literally beyond those characters in the background, and you can see TIE fighters over crate, an aerial battle over crate. I've got a new theory.
There's a Star Destroyer, isn't there, in the corner?
Well, it looks like it could be. It's a very triangular-shaped explosion, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the idea of these ski speeders dropping their anchors, for the want of a better term, into the surface and breaking it up. I wonder if I got a new theory that maybe they're just trying to weaken the surface for by the time the walkers get to it, maybe they go through the surface.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Are they tearing it apart, and underneath it, almost like this is a crust on top of these
tearing it
minerals,
apart, Lisa.
and they're breaking it open so that the walkers go through by the time they get there.
I think it's more likely that they're tearing it up so that the foot soldiers aren't seen by the walkers behind them.
I also like that idea too. Yeah, it's like
either one works for me.
Or both. Maybe it's a bit of both.
That said, the foot soldiers can't see anything.
No.
Yeah, but they've just got to get near, haven't they? Then they get squished underfoot.
I wonder how many foot soldiers we're going to see in this. I think it's going to be all really cool machines, isn't it? Walkers and tanks and all sorts of cool stuff. But
the gorilla walker looks cool.
I love that image.
Yeah, it does.
I think this image is fantastic. I love these actors. These are our new heroes, and I'm really warming to them. Talking of old heroes, as we slide down one more image there, we've got this piece of key art from Last Jedi, which made its way onto the back of a pinball machine a couple of weeks ago. You may remember.
Yes.
It's old Luke.
Yep.
And Rey.
Yep.
With a staff.
Yep.
And under the water there, an X-Wing fighter.
It is an X-Wing fighter.
It is, definitely. There's no mistaking it.
And it's an X-Wing fighter.
Yes.
A split engine one as well. One of the most modern ones.
It's a T-70, yeah. So this got pointed out in the VIP Facebook group. It's not Luke's X-Wing from, well, when we last had it, Jedi. The middle of Jedi. So it's not that fight. It can't be that fighter. It might still belong to him, but it's not that X-Wing.
Yeah, that's the one that he would have had to join the fleet. And this is a later model, so
but he probably gave that back, to be honest.
Yeah,
because they needed it. They probably needed all the ships they could get for the battle.
Yeah,
he didn't need it.
And I wonder if this is where this could be a trial for Rey. Like, get the ship out. We've seen that before.
Oh, what kind of madman is he if he's just like, I better lob it into the ocean so that if anybody comes by, they'll have to lift it out because then I'm going to know if they're any cop or not.
Yeah.
What a mentalist.
I was just wondering if perhaps this is where the sea creature comes into play. If it's defending the X-Wing and stopping Rey from getting to it. And we've seen her we've seen Daisy diving into water, haven't we, in the behind-the-scenes reel. So we know that there's a lot of action under the water.
I wonder if that was the cave.
But that X-Wing looks knackered anyway. It's all broken at the end.
Yeah, it's looking... It might be just because it's under the water, but it's looking a little bit worse for wear.
Bit of underseal, be all right, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
Chicken wine.
The only issue I've got with this picture is Luke.
Okay.
And I've just posted a picture of what it reminds me a little too much of with the flecked hair and the whole mystique about him and so on. And I don't want that to happen. The pictures we've seen of Luke so far, he's been kind of scruffy, which is really a refreshing change, seriously. And I actually want him not to really give a monkeys about too much, except, I've seen this. Trust me, go in this direction, sort of. I don't want him to be this revered sort of angelic character, which was what this picture portrays to me. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I think this is broadcast. We spoke about this last week, didn't we, about the mentor role and how Luke has transitioned from the New Hope into the Obi-Wan position, the Qui-Gon position, the Gandalf, the Dumbledore.
The Gandalf, the Dumbledore, which is obviously what the picture I just showed you as well.
Yeah, Gandalf the White.
A little bit too polished and breezy in the white hair and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
He looks a bit trampy, doesn't he?
I think with the mentor, that's the role he's going to fulfill.
Oh no, you didn't.
But I think he might fall a lot short of that Gandalf the White.
Well, he's a little short for a stormtrooper.
Ability.
There is that.
Well, apparently he's not. I've seen two toys measured alongside each other, and they're exactly the same.
Yeah.
That's really sad.
Moving on, right? These artists' impressions, we're going to segue over from these
done by a 7-year-old
in just a second to something that came out today. They are from makingstarwars.net, and they are an artist impression of a description of Luke's costume, and then an artist impression of Snoke. Now, these are actually uncanny in light of what came out earlier today.
They really are.
So,
how the hell did they do that without advanced information?
This is making Star Wars.
They did.
.net at the end of the day. Steve.
They had it. Yeah, they had it, Steve.
Yeah.
All right.
Jason's
no way they
extremely
didn't.
good.
I'm in the blind here, so what's uncanny?
No, we're getting to it. We're getting to it, Paul.
Yeah.
So, Luke.
What's with the staff?
Luke will have a walking stick, which is that stuff. And it's going to have like this engraved sort of dragony face on it. And he's also got this electric shock prod that he uses to shoot
those little birds under control.
Yeah. And the other thing they pointed out about his wardrobe was this is the later wardrobe in the movie, the trash bag they call it.
I don't think he'd have that hanging up in the cave.
No, the darker robes. It is on Arc 2. He has like a hold all as well that he wears, like a messenger bag, a courier bag that he wears over his shoulder. He's got the leg bindings on. Very similar to the leg bindings Farm Boy Luke wore around over the trousers. Looks really cool, I think. That's the artist impression. And we're going to scroll down. We're going to look at Snoke.
He must be eating the birds, mustn't he? There's nothing else to eat on Arc 2.
Yeah, no, it might be McDonald's. They're franchised everywhere.
It's interesting that you say that, Steve, because when I watched the behind the scenes, because I watched along as you guys were talking about it.
All right.
And I noticed that in the shot, Daisy Ridley looks like she's eaten pretty well while she's on Arc 2. So she's no, I'm saying she's not been starving.
She's healthy.
That. Yeah, exactly. So I feel like,
Big boned.
No, not smash that. Dinosaur's a big bone.
That's her second name, Ray Cartman. That's why they're not giving it away. Beefcake.
So is it like the show where Cartman's mum is her dad or something? I can't remember how it went. Yeah.
Drop her off at Jakku, Mum.
I forget it.
So the next image is Snoke, who we're told has
I want Jedi boobs.
has a pink complexion, bright blue eyes, so not the Sithy yellow eyes, and holes in his neck, which sound very, very creepy.
I got them.
You have at the moment, yeah. In fact, Jeremy did sort of hint at that in the VIP group, actually, Paul. Right, so they're the artist impressions. Let's just go over here, shall we, to find wherever my images that have disappeared have gone. Let me just find my remote drive. This was all very slick earlier. It was all slick and laid out and waiting for us, and then there we go, Last Jedi images. So,
where do these come from?
These came out at the Hit Imager earlier today. That's Luke.
That is odd.
So that is very, very close to what we've just been looking at, right?
A little bit.
Very close indeed. The staff.
I like that they took the approach of like, you know what? Let's not pull these out early. Draw it.
Yeah.
I like that. It's kind of quaint.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where would you get
more of that? More of that. When they have like set pick leaks, don't just leak the pictures with that crappy kind of TMZ style
watermark
thing. Draw it as best you can.
Yeah.
No, the watermark's fair enough. If they got the picture, they should have it. I'm talking more like just draw it instead. If you're gonna do clickbait, work for it.
Jason does that a lot. He has another artist called Lumberjack Nick that does a lot of their drawings on there, and they're really good, really stylized. And I know that what he's doing there, he's working around sort of takedown notices. It's very, very clever.
Yeah.
But this just looks fantastic, doesn't it?
Mm.
Just like the artist impression. These are clearly destined for publication at some point when they get into Photoshop and put art behind it. So that's Luke, and this is the Snoke of it all. So that
does look like me.
Looks
amazing.
Just incredible.
It's so awesome.
That still doesn't let us know who he is at all, does it?
Not at all. No.
So, which is why I'm thinking this is a completely new character. Deal with it.
I'm good with that. I'm totally good with that.
I love the way one eye. You notice his left eye. Or if you look at it, as you look at it, he's all right. Then his eye on the right seems to droop. The other one is actually looking up a little.
Yeah.
His ears are in completely different places.
I like it because I'll tell you why. It perfectly captures for me a character who might have a public persona of sympathy, but behind the scenes be a right git.
Yeah, well, he looks pathetic, doesn't he? So
there you go. He's got that, but he's got that even more so because he looks because he's disfigured. He looks even more like somebody you should feel sorry
for. Chin down, he looks like a tree.
And he doesn't look that big, does he? He's quite short.
I like that because it ties nicely into the things we've been sort of led to believe about him. Like he's kind of somebody quite. Well, I mean, he's clearly somebody publicly known because Leia knows who he is.
Well, yeah, there's that, and also you don't dress like this if you spend all day in on your own, do you? You wear a towel and robe and you eat cheese poofs out the bag. This is a guy who has a public persona.
Yeah.
And I think he's probably traded
really on that. He wears a hat.
No, like I say, I think it's perfect. I think he's channeling that kind of episode 3 Palpatine, like, oh, look what the Jedi did to me.
Yeah.
This kind of reads in the same way of like,
it's
almost
Circus
like
is voicing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's it called? Somebody in the VIP group, I forget who it was, it might have been Omer, said that I think it was Joe Crouch, he ain't no such. He said that it looked like he'd been hit by Force lightning. Now imagine, right, if it's a character who's kind of in public, he's decrying the Sith and talking about how what a blight they were on the galaxy. Behind the scenes, he's like, and I can do it better.
Yeah, well, I definitely think that's this guy's gambit, right? He's watched this is what we've heard about him. He's watched the Empire rise and fall. He watched it from the sidelines. And I think he was waiting for a power vacuum to get in there and apply his own type of rule.
But what I mean is he can, publicly, he can look like a sympathetic figure because he's not only disfigured, but he's also saying, we're never going to have the poison of the Sith in the galaxy. And behind the scenes, he's like, we're going to have a better version.
Yeah.
But that's not what people are hearing him say.
No. It's the same mistake being made.
This poor guy was just sitting on the starboard toilet on the very Star Destroyer that was hit by the blockade runner at the end of Rogue One. And it was just on that side, and he took the nose full on.
Yeah, I agree.
I
think he was flicking through a pack going, oh, there's a T16 that's coming out.
He's reading Dr. Afro and then bang!
But yeah. So just imagine he's a character in episode 8. Imagine he's a character in episode 8 who's, like I say, his public persona is, I would never sort of, he talks badly about the Sith because he's like living proof that of their evil and stuff like that. But like I say, behind the scenes, he's saying, I'm totally going to do it better, and I can, the Sith won't ever rule the galaxy. My version will be better.
Well, it's the lie that they all tell. Palpatine even told it to Anakin, didn't he? Once more we shall have peace.
Exactly.
They're always lying. This other image of Luke we're getting, with him wearing the glove, the leather cape that's clearly patched together from something else.
Distinct lack of lightsaber on his belt in both shots.
Yeah. Look, no lightsaber.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't really see what's underneath those things, but...
No, sure, but I can't help but notice there's a distinct lack of it, so it's going to be... It's going to be a big deal. There's already a Photoshop of that photo with porgs all over his shoulders. Already a thing. God, I love the internet.
We got this great Adam Driver shot with the Force Effects lightsaber. They haven't actually...
It took me a minute to get his foot right in the very corner.
Yeah, it's a peculiar stance. It is an odd stance, isn't it?
He's got 3 legs.
I'm Ren the peg.
This cape is amazing, isn't it? It's not Vader's, that's for sure.
No, I don't think it is. It looks like leather.
Yeah, we'd heard that it was going to be Vader's, but that is definitely not.
That one is. Whether or not he has more
Again, it looks like he's wearing arm bindings instead of sleeves.
Yeah, he had that in the first film.
Surely that restricts your movement when, in sword play.
Oh, it takes so long to put on in the morning as well.
Yeah.
I'll be down in an hour and a half, just going to put on my wrist bindings. That was just Steve before we started the podcast.
Yeah.
There's this really cool picture of Daisy as Rey.
Oh, it looks like she wants a hug.
Mark's drooling.
I would hug her.
Yeah, I would. She seems lovely.
I love you, Daisy. I'm just putting out some sort of ASMR, apparently, but also...
What's the next one? I'm trying to work that out.
ASMR.
Phasma.
Yeah, I've got no time for Phasma. I don't know what it is. I have absolutely zero concern with this character at all.
I was thinking this week, I wonder if there's any chance that Phasma may have been a Knight of Ren.
Okay.
And maybe that when the First Order really took off, Snoke said, right, we're going to reorder now. No more Knights of Ren. Most of them are going to become the Praetorian Guard. This one, you can go off and become this Silver Stormtrooper, and Kylo, you can run the show.
I think any Knight of Ren might consider that a demotion and rebel against it.
It depends.
It's interesting. That spear is literally just a spear. There's no body, nothing added to it. It literally is just a long needle.
Doesn't look like there's any tech on it, does it?
No, just a really simple, straightforward.
Again, I don't get the Phasma character. Anyway,
I think there's going to be more to it.
She looks cool.
Probably.
I think it's a waste of Gwendolyn Christie, to be honest.
I think she's going to come out
from Force Awakens. From Force Awakens, I totally agree. I think in Last Jedi, she's going to have a meteor role, not as in
Rocky
flying in from space. I mean,
she hits Snoke.
More meaty. There you go. She says, "Keep your friends close.
It's all unwinding.
And promote your enemies."
She's going to have a corned beef bap, a meaty roll.
That's it.
Thank you. I'll be here all week.
Very good.
Unfortunately, there's more.
I know where not to be.
Enough, and actually, this one, this is great.
That is awesome.
So we got Kylo Ren, leather cape.
Yep.
The new helmet. So
no, it's not binding. It's just texture on the sleeve. It's a bit over the top, but it's just texture on the sleeve.
Yeah. New scar.
He definitely has the coolest helmet.
Do you know what?
Cool.
I've come around on the scar. I wasn't sure what to make of the change.
Right.
But
can anyone tell me about the scar, please? What's going on with the scar?
It moved.
So yeah, based on the Force Awakens, they swapped it. I think to the other side of his face.
Really?
It went from over his left eye down to the right cheek,
and it crosses
Ryan moved it. Right? Yeah, across the bridge.
and he removed it from the bridge of the nose along the same side of the face.
Which
but
makes it
so
more
cool
like Anakin's scar, which I think would work for him as a character.
Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, Anakin had a scar exactly the same, didn't he, over his eye? So I think this would I think she's done him a favour by giving him exactly what he would want, which is something that Grandad had.
Yeah, I dig it.
I like it. So I think he looks meaner. There's less. I think he was more. All of this stuff on his costume was more skirty. He had more length in his overcoat. This cloak thing works really well for this character.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty awesome. They're all in there. Just look great. They look great images.
Yeah,
I'd be interested to see where they're going to end up. I imagine sort of Empire or Total Film might have these when they're fully produced, fully finished.
Yeah, maybe.
The saber effect.
I'm guessing they're recent.
Bit of drool on your screen, Mark. Can you wipe that?
That is not drool. Oh.
Oh.
Right, let's get back to the show notes. So I'm not putting those up on the site until we get something from the outlet.
Tangible. Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, we're going to move on from those. Look at this concept art. It is great. They're so the photographs are so accurate. Or the drawings are so accurate. All right, Dave Donovan.
That's art. That's really good.
Well, actually, I think the photo, it doesn't do the photo justice with Snoke's neck holes.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't show just how creepy. And like you said, Paul, it looked like a tree.
Man.
Yeah.
It looked very much like a tree, didn't it?
I think one thing it also shows is he's either human or humanoid, or an alien species that's near as damn it to humanoid shape, because the facial structure is
the
almost
physiology
there.
is spot on, and it's just weird.
Physiology is the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Sort of 7 foot tall, so he's going to be just a much larger version. Maybe a bald Wookiee. Maybe it's Chewbacca.
Maybe that's what maybe it was a wet shave gone horribly wrong.
Okay. At San Diego Comic-Con, there were 2 action figures that came out. They were Luke and Rey 6-inch black series action figures that were exclusive to the con, although early access, I guess, more than exclusive, timed exclusive, and we'll get them later in the year. I think September. I'm really keen to get these 2 characters, but these are the descriptions on the side of the box, courtesy of Dave Donovan. So on Luke, it says, after tragedy destroyed his attempt to rebuild the Jedi Knights, Luke Skywalker vanished from the galaxy, and now the Resistance needs his help to thwart the efforts of the evil First Order. Kind of cool. I guess it makes sense that Leia would be looking for Luke for help as much as just to know where he is. And then on the Rey box it says, at long last, Rey has found Luke Skywalker, the last Jedi Master in the galaxy. Hoping to find a hero of legend, she must unlearn what she has learned as Skywalker challenges her expectations.
Must unlearn what you have
learned. 3 really interesting things from that.
Go for it.
So the first one is that nowhere in Luke's blurb does it mention a temple or any kind of training facility. It just says an attempt to rebuild the Jedi. That makes it almost feel like it's a smaller scale operation than we've been led to believe.
Yeah.
I mean, that may be, just me reading a little extra into it, but that's kind of my first impression. The second one is that Luke is referred to as the last Jedi Master in the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Not the last Jedi generally. And obviously the last sentence about Skywalker challenging her expectations, and I feel like that's probably her thinking he's going to be really keen to get stuck into the fight, and he's like, no.
Yeah,
that's my sort of first impression. What you want, mate?
Well, this is you might have heard me mention this last week.
Giraffe.
I think, he's not the last Cockney master. He's well, we don't know. Spoilers, maybe
he might be,
the last Jedi in plaster.
You've heard me mention the Barash Vowel, Rob.
Yeah.
So in the comic books at the moment, Vader has been mentioning the Barash vow, which is a vow of inaction on the part of a Jedi.
Self-imposed inaction and exile.
Yes. It's kind of a penitence, but I think it's going to be used to explain why Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Ezra and Kanan potentially, why they didn't get involved in galactic events. Because I would
be surprised if we hear the words Barrish Vow in the film.
Yeah, but
I think we will probably hear it explained, and then superfans and connected material goers can go, "Oh, that must be the Barrish Vow."
Yes, exactly. Much like, we all knew Darth Vader was a Sith Lord, even though it was never mentioned in the first films. We all knew that it was Lord Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I think that when she turns up there, she's probably thinking he's going to rub his hands together and go, right, let's get started. But I think she's going to turn up and he's going to go, I don't think so.
Well, also, it's in hoping to find a hero of legend. Mm-hmm. So what she gets is not what she, what she gets is not what she expects. And I think what she expects is, somebody other than a bit of a grizzled old hermit who's like, leave me alone.
Yeah, leave me with my porgs.
Round bag of myths.
I'm glad you picked up on that, Paul. That was subtle, but it was there.
Not really. Yeah.
About subtle as I do.
Like a breeze block attached to a train.
So this is definitely a thing, isn't it, with Daisy's comments at Celebration about don't meet your heroes, they will disappoint you. She's definitely gone with preconceived notions about Luke, who he's going to be, how she's going to be received, and what the next moments after she hands that lightsaber over, what they're going to mean for her and her future. And I don't think she's going to get it. And an interesting comparison pops to mind, which is the Karate Kid. When Daniel goes to Mr. Miyagi and expects, right, this is what you're going to be doing. And all he ends up doing is waxing cars and painting fences. And I think maybe she's not going to understand what Luke's got in mind for her. And she might have to convince him more. No, you teach me. And he's just not, he's going to resist as much as possible. I find this to be quite interesting. And I think this might be what she's talking about, what Daisy's talking about in the BTS reel, which is, it's what the decisions Ryan's made are strange. And they're going to throw us all off balance, because we're probably all expecting the Jedi Knight. The guy we saw at the end of the movie, like Paul pointed out earlier.
Made that quite clear.
No. But we're not on the. But I think the audience generally are expecting that white robe Jedi at the end of The Force Awakens to be the guy that says, "Let's get started. Let's send." And what we're actually going to get, I don't think, is that. I think it's this curmudgeonly person that says, "No way. I've taken this vow. I'm done with it. I'm over. It's over. The Jedi end. Everything they did ends. This goes away. I can't be part of the problem anymore."
Yeah,
because that's a valid read for Luke, that he tried to train Ben, and suddenly there's this wild, crazy Sith user, this Sith Lord wannabe Force user out there doing all this damage. That come from Luke, whether you like that or not. The decisions he made, like Obi-Wan lied to Luke about Vader. Luke lied to Ben about his grandfather. So all the same mistakes were made again. Do these people not learn? Have they not watched these movies? Do they not listen to podcasts?
Apparently not.
No.
You think Luke has nothing but time?
Yeah.
You'd think he'd have, he'd probably be through his back. He'd be through his backlog.
Yeah, he should be listening to it on his iPorg.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, that's it for the Last Jedi news. All of this stuff's exciting. All of these images, just everything's so cool. So very, very cool. We're going to move on to some Han Solo bits now. Only a couple of bits this week, and then we're going to be outie. So, again, obviously, spoilers for the Han Solo movie. If you're trying to keep yourself isolated and you haven't heard these bits before, you won't want to hear them. First up, John Powell has been named as the composer on the Han Solo movie. For what it's worth, I just accepted that this was going to be Giacchino. Don't know about you guys. What do we make of the news that John Powell, the composer behind the Bourne series, Shrek, Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon, is going to be doing Han Solo? Paul?
Very exciting. Very exciting. He's a real mood composer. He's very, very clever.
I know you like How to Train Your Dragon, don't you?
Yeah, he can make He can make instruments sulk and he can make instruments happy in a very similar way to what Williams can, to be honest. And he's one of the few that do it outside Williams in that manner. He's very, very clever at texturizing as well. He can go from crescendo to depression to crescendo, and you accept it and you go along the ride with him. It's very beautiful stuff. Dragon was a really, really, really good point in case, to be honest. It was very clever the way he did a lot of the stuff with that. He attached a mood to a cartoon cat stroke dragon with instruments, and not many people can do that kind of thing. So some of the stuff he did with Bourne is really, really moody and dark and clever. But again, Kung Fu Panda is fun, and the way he moves along with that is great. And you'll recognize 10 or 15 motifs from Shrek you didn't know he did. So yeah, seriously exciting. And please don't take this the wrong way, but I'm now listening to it a lot more than I was, but in relation to the work that was done with Rogue One, I'm a lot more excited about this.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, to be honest, Pal's already got a really massive CV, which is encouraging, but because he's got a massive CV, you've got more work to relate to and see what the kind of direction he might go in.
Is he a fan?
Now, we don't know what the direction... Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to ask, is he traditional sort of orchestration and instrumentation, or is there anything experimental in his work?
Yeah, 50-50.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I mean, like you brought Born up before I did. That's got a lot more synthetic.
Okay.
But then you listen to, the likes of Dragon and so on. It's almost pure orchestra. So, mind you, it sounds like it is. Let's be honest, but it rarely is. But it sounds like it is. So, yeah. I was rather overjoyed when I saw this.
Cool.
I've got one of those streaming accounts that could be any one of the suppliers in the world.
Right.
And I often do a search for John Powell and just press discography, play all. And let's just bounce between the movies. It's really, really good stuff. Really good stuff.
Oh, that's high praise. I really didn't know what to think when I heard his name this morning, when I read his name this morning. And really because I'd sort of hoped that we would get more Giacchino, because I love the Rogue One soundtrack so much. And I love the...
But with the standalones, I'm wondering if they're going to go standalone on many things.
Well, yeah, I mean, that does make sense. I just love the tonal nature of some of what he did, especially when you first go to Jeddah, and it has that weird instrumentation. Is so bizarre, metallic, almost like Zimmer, almost Zimmer-like.
More Johansson as well. You ever listen to Johan Johansson?
No.
If you get 5 minutes, play the Arrival soundtrack.
I love the Arrival soundtrack.
It's mind blowing, and some of it is just ethereal noise, but it works. It's composers are being ridiculously clever at the moment, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, really they need to communicate more than just the themes of these things now.
It's not what it used to be.
No, it's more tones and more about throwing you.
I'm wondering how long you can get away with that. I mean, as fans of movies, we can happily listen to the Force theme and Leia's theme and Han's theme and those things. We can hear them chip in and chip out of movies as often as we like, and we don't care. And they lace them together in such a way that it always sounds like a different piece of music, but with familiar themes. But eventually, that will dilute a little bit. So now they're actually being clever with the way of using sort of different ethereal sounds to attach to a different motif and so on. So yeah, it's interesting times ahead, because these guys are having to be a bit more imaginative, and so far they're just nailing it still.
Yeah. What did you think, Rob, when you heard this guy's name attached to this project?
I'll confess to not being especially familiar with his work, but I do like the films, the Bourne films, and I would imagine that a portion of that is the music. It did make me think, like, are we kind of going to get a slightly different take on a slightly different take on a Star Wars movie, considering that they're not going for that kind of immediately Williams-alike composer? Mm-hmm. It's just a thought.
I hope so.
He is left field of Williams. Yes.
Yeah.
And taking into account, we're getting a feeling. I mean, I'm not entirely sure if it's entirely accidental that we're hearing the composer being named after the director's been, number one, changed, possibly. I don't know whether that's on purpose or not. Now they've got a more solid direction of where the film is going. Now we can attach a composer with one of five we've got in mind. Yeah. And he's been bound to it from that direction.
They might have learned from the
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Alexander Desplat thing on Rogue One with the schedule change.
Maybe, yeah.
That might be a factor as well. But at the same time, when you look at things like Shrek and when you look at things like Dragon, that lighter tone might be what is required for what we understand might be the lighter tone of the Solo movie as well.
Yeah.
So one begets the other, if you like.
Yes.
So,
I really hope that they offset that with some of the darker stuff as well. Because
which he's capable of doing.
What I've said before is how well those two things work together. They're great tastes that go together well. Little bit of comedy, little bit of light-hearted, mischievous, playful soundtracks, and then something dark to really underline those dramatic moments and the menace that can be in these movies sometimes.
Yeah,
if he's a composer that gets those things right, because looking at these projects, it seems to me like he's done that, but in different movies. Like the Bourne movies, very dark. There's nothing playful. But then these other movies, I imagine there's been a lot of playful tones in those other films, yeah?
His movies tend to be in one direction or the other, but he's more than capable of bridging the two.
He'll need to do that in this film, I think.
We think. We have no idea what direction the film's going, though.
No, but I mean, Lucasfilm don't set out to make something like a light-hearted heist movie and then switch that up in post. I think there's probably going to be some of that playful, humorous tone still, but I think they're going to need to take it every now and then. You're going to swing into the Star Wars universe, so there will be the Empire involved.
Oh, there'll be absolute reference to it, almost tributes to it.
They'll need to be scored
I'm
onto
hoping
screen.
There is.
So I'm
hoping there is. I mean, we like those latches. It's what makes it part of the universe. And to be honest, there's no reason the music can't sort of be, for want of a better word, canonized in itself as well.
No, of course.
If you can hook it in, then do so.
But that is part of the language.
They did a really good job with Rogue One. So
it's part of the dialect of these films, and part of the experience of watching these films is that the OST, the score, signifies, doesn't it? It tells you how you should be feeling at that given moment.
Absolutely.
You know, not all the narratives conveyed through imagery, and there are those subtle cues.
Sometimes just turn the dialogue off and listen to the music.
Yeah.
Williams was the first one that allowed us to really do that fully.
And I'm such a big fan of John Williams, and some of the Jaws stuff, some of the things he did in Jaws in terms of playing with us as audience members, sort of playing the theme, like conditioning us to expect the shark with the theme, and then putting the theme there Jaws with no shark, and then giving us the shark with no theme. They play with, they teach you something, condition you, almost in a Pavlovian manner to expect something, and then take it away and use it against you. Kept
your palate wet though, didn't he?
Yeah, it just works so beautifully. And if you can do something like that in this film, if John Powell can do something like that in terms of using tone to do that similar thing, that similar trick, is make us feel one way and then give us something else. It'll make the mediocre jokes hilarious, and it will make a frightening moment terrifying. It can, these things, it's such a powerful tool, that music, and if he can do that right, more power to him. And I'm in his corner. I really want to see what he can do.
Sure.
One of the things I mentioned I did a Kessel One episode about it today, about the composer, about John Powell. And I was saying how I'd expected it to be Giacchino. I don't know why. No one's ever said that. I don't know why. I just made that assumption. But I also held up Serenity as a soundtrack, the Firefly movie, as being something I expect to work really well in Han Solo because of the Western callback in the style. Even though it's a sci-fi movie, you got this Western kind of twang throughout, for want of a better way to describe it. Yeah. I wonder if he'll flavour the Han Solo soundtrack with anything close to this Western kind of heist that we're hearing. I wonder if he'll take a step towards that. Do you think that's too contemporary?
I'd love to sit at the mixing desk and see what comes of this.
It's going to be fun, I think. It'll be very interesting. So thumbs up all round?
Absolutely.
Oh, for me, yeah, big time.
Okay. Good luck, Mr. Powell. We're right behind you, cheering you on, sir, and we can't wait to hear what it is you do. All right, a couple of interesting casting bits we're going to wrap up on this evening. Spencer Wilding, who played Darth Vader in Rogue One, is reportedly filming the Han Solo movie right now. No one's sort of announced his presence yet, and no one's made the suggestion that he's going to be portraying Vader in this movie.
So it could be any tall character.
It could be anything, because this guy, he played Vader fine, but in Guardians of the Galaxy, he just played like a prison guard or something. You know, he did his bit, he did it well, but he doesn't have to be the centre of attention. He's not like the A-lister on this movie. He could be playing someone mentioned earlier, he could be playing a Wookiee. But I think it's kind of interesting. It snuck out from a convention somewhere. He was on the roster to appear at a convention, but then a notice went out saying, unfortunately, he won't be able to make it because he's filming the latest Star Wars movie. Well, that's Han Solo. That's the only thing in production at the moment. So what do we reckon? Let's just play with this for a second. Vader in Han Solo?
No,
I don't see it.
Timeline won't work.
Just seems like it would be another one. It would be another one of those ones where it's like
hell of a shoehorn, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. It would feel like a shoehorn. It would just feel like, oh look, it's Star Wars, Darth Vader, Star Wars.
Yeah, the timeline, Paul. The timeline for Star Wars works. The timeline for Han.
Yeah, no, I realised that afterwards.
It shouldn't be something that Han comes that close to this early on in his life. Really, what we're showing with Han is that he'll take extraordinary steps to defend his new friends, defend the woman he loves, and that's why he sails so close to the wind. He'll be at the end of the table shooting at Vader because of the love he has for these new people in his life. We don't need to see him cross paths with Vader at that point. In this movie, when he's still a youngster, we don't need to see that. It's like saying, the Empire are like the police force. They're like prefects everywhere they go. At this point, his level of criminal will only be crossing paths with bureaucrats. He won't be crossing paths with the top two people running the show. He's not that important. So in terms of in Star Wars history, yeah, Vader's around. Should Han Solo cross paths with him? Absolutely not. No. I don't think Spencer Wilding's going to be playing that character, and I agree, Rob, with kind of what you implied. Let's not lean on the crutch of Vader.
Yeah.
If we don't need to. Let's be brave enough to sort of take that away and see how it works without him.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be the first movie without his presence.
Yes. Directly, yeah. It would be... Well, no, he's not in Force Awakens directly.
No, but the helmet's there.
Yeah, he's referenced.
Vader is there. It's kind of motivating... Kylo. So in a way, even though he's not stalking the halls, he's looming large over that story.
Yeah, sure.
And I would love to see a film where he isn't, and perhaps a film where we don't see a lightsaber ignite as well would be good. They almost did it with Rogue One.
Almost,
and then
they got most of the film through without using one,
and then just backed out at the last minute. But
yeah.
This could work, I think.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
One story that a couple of outlets ran with today, as if it was news, was that Warwick Davis is in Han Solo.
Yes.
Which we actually found out about a couple of months ago with the Omaze announcement from Lord Miller, which had Warwick Davis in it. You remember that short video?
Yeah, actually.
So we knew he was involved with the project because he made a big deal of it in that video, didn't he? Saying it was a spoiler. But what was really lovely to see this tweet from Ron Howard yesterday saying, "Yeah, I've just worked with Warwick again for the first time in 30 years," and how pleased he was about that. It was, I think it's really nice, and I think it's lovely. Warwick's become such a touchstone now for Star Wars.
Yeah,
it would almost be wrong to make a film without the guy near it.
And
he works so well in the narrative of Star Wars, but also as one of the commentators on Star Wars.
Yeah,
he's up there on the stage at all the conventions, interviewing.
I would love to share a couple of glasses of wine with Warwick Davis.
I really want a guy on here.
Evening.
I want to get him on the pod at some point to talk about this stuff because he's just one of my favourites, and I can't wait to see what he does in this. Even if it's just a smaller role as he had in Rogue One, it's just knowing he's there. It's just he's like an amulet now for this franchise, don't you think?
Mm.
And in this tweet as well, they reference another Willow movie.
Yeah.
Someone's asking, when are we getting a Willow sequel? You think that'll ever happen?
I hope. I like to think, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're being tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
Because it's just one of those things. It's like, you don't need sequels to every movie you liked as a kid. You don't need reboots and remakes and revisionings. They don't catch fire because nobody goes on to, do a sequel. Like, the first one's still there and you can go back and watch it anytime you want.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the person the benefit of the doubt and say that they're being sort of, ironic when they ask about it, because I just feel like otherwise it gets a bit sad.
Yeah.
So, and it might be controversial. I don't really care.
No, I'm with you there. I think that these things can be one and done. It seems a shame that they had the potential for a great franchise there, which was very, very close to Lord of the Rings. But they had the potential for a really cool franchise, and it only made one movie. And they didn't do a lot of money in theaters at that point. It's found its audience certainly and become like a cult classic. But it's I'm with you. It's fine to have a film that's one and done. I don't expect another one anytime soon, but I do expect these two to work on Star Wars together again in the future.
Totally. If only they'd done it with Raiders.
What, left it as one?
Mm.
Well, that's a divisive comment.
Well,
divisive even.
Yeah. What did I say? Whatever. Back to the tape. Okay. I think we're done for the week. We had a little surprise with those images tonight. I'm really glad that we got to have a little look through those before they went, before they ended up wherever it is they're going. One of the glossies, I'm sure.
Not for nothing as well. We would have ended up a week behind all the other the other publications
Indeed.
As well. So it's nice that we've had a chance to actually have a look at them.
Yes, so keep your finger out, Mark.
Sometimes timings. It's true. I'm sure people who do shows can relate to this. Sometimes timings just don't work in your favour, and you sort of it drops. We've had countless amounts of news drop on a Friday after we record on a Thursday night. It's just one of those things that happens. So it's nice that this one happens to have dropped at a time where we can
make the most of it.
We do have time to react to it.
You watch the trailer will come out tomorrow, Rob.
Famous last words.
Everyone will go, why are these guys on Talk Star Wars talking about pictures when there's a new trailer?
Why are they not even? They've not even addressed it.
Idiots. Yeah. So I often feel bad about where our show is recorded in relation to where it's published. That sort of downtime.
That's not what I meant, but okay.
But, that's what I mean. We record on a Thursday, we publish on a Monday. So in that window of time there, plenty of stuff happens, especially when you get close to this film. So, we do end up, our news cycle is a week slower than everybody else's, but we're not breaking the news. People only listen to us to hear us like spin this stuff in our own unique way, often uniquely inaccurate way, but it's, it's all fun, and that's why we do it. We love it. So anyway, let's wrap this thing up. So thank you very much for listening to Talk Star Wars again this week. Sorry Steve had to duck out. He has been not feeling too good today, so we let him go to bed, bless his little heart. Don't forget you can head off and leave us a 5-star review in iTunes and take advantage of the Ron Burgundy guarantee.
You're right there, Paul. You seem to have picked up a cough.
Whatever you
No, I said puff.
He did it twice. Whatever you write in a 5-star review, we will read as long as it's clean. So if you want to promote something like a blog or a podcast, that's a place to do it. You can leave a review for any of our shows, not just this one. So if you want to go back in, leave a review for the After Dark side, TSW Toy Box or TSW Comics or the Roundtable, then feel free. Just go in there and have your say. We will read it for you. You can email us your questions and comments to talkstarwarsinfo@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on one of our social channels, such as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and many, many more. So with that said, chaps, where can people find you between shows?
You will find me on moviescorenews.com, and you'll find me on Twitter at moviescorenews, and you'll find me on Facebook at moviescorenews. And Moviescore News is now awake again. I apologise if there was a sort of a lapse, but news is rolling in again. So happy bunnies.
The Movie Score awakens. Rob, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RobWadeVision, and everything I do that's not talk Star Wars at emotionally14.com or by searching Emotionally14 on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, and Facebook and Twitter.
Splendid. You can find Stephen on Twitter as Stephen_where, and you can find him on YouTube as Wild About Nature. You can find everything I do at talkstarwars.co.uk, and I'm also on Twitter at talkstarwars. Stick around for the promo spot for the Star Wars Commonwealth, and we will be back to speak to you about the trailer that's going to drop tomorrow, a week after everybody else is back. We'll see you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Talk Star Wars is a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Find us at StarWarsCommonwealth.com alongside
The Tumbling Saber Podcast,
the Generation X-Wing Podcast,
the TSW Roundtable,
the Skyhoppers Podcast,
and the Nerd Room Podcast.
Head to StarWarsCommonwealth.com. Take your first steps to a larger world.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Let's talk about Loot Crate. Are you on a quest for epic gear, housewares, and collectibles? Loot Crate offers an epic range of pop culture items for less than $20 per month. Whether you're shopping for the geek in your life or you are that geek, Loot Crate is the best surprise you know is coming. Every month there's a different theme and new and exclusive items that you can only get with Loot Crate. Treat yourself every month or give the gift of geeking out to a friend or a loved one. You have until the 19th at 9 PM Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate, and when the cut-off happens, that's it, it's over. Make sure to head to lootcrate.com/talkstarwars and enter the code TalkStarWars and save $3 off your new subscription today.